Good morning. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Home Built Workshop. Welcome to Wednesday Live. I hope all of you are doing awesome. And thanks for joining in to hang out for a little while here in the workshop. As we get settled in here, get this set the way I need it to be set. Let's see, Sam's here. Sam says hello, everyone. Hello, Jeff. Hello, Sam. And good afternoon to you. Robert's here. Robert says hello, people. Hope everyone is doing well. Right on. Hello, Robert. We're doing well here. I hope you are doing the same. Right on, right on. As we get settled in, situated, everything's situated. And Time Surfing Aliens here. Says good morning. Hope the day finds you well. Good morning. Hope you're doing awesome. Everything is going good so far here. Right on. Me got wood. Hello. And Nigel's here. Says morning, Chuckles. Good morning, Nigel. Sam says got added on the stream start. Right on. Right on. What's everybody up to this fine Wednesday? What are you working on? Anybody have projects in the works? Robert says, looks like you may have been busy with the guitar bodies behind you. Yes. Yes, I have. We'll get to that here before long. We'll give everybody a few minutes to get tuned in, and we'll jump into what I've been working on. But I want to hear what you're working on. Time Surfing says some interesting stuff on that table back there. Uh-oh. I'm pressing buttons. Uh-oh. Don't do that. There we go. Sorry. Nigel says, greetings, fellow Earthlings. Corey says, good morning from the hospital right now. Corey, what's going on? I hope you're all right. Well wishes. That's not something you want to hear. Hope everything is okay, Corey. Sam says, UPS delivered 3 hours late. Ah. What did I miss one? Nope. Nigel says, I'm recovering from a bout of norovirus. Oh, man. Sorry to hear that. Well wishes to you, too. Hope everybody gets to feeling better. Man, that's no fun. I don't want anyone to be under the weather. Time Surfing says, waiting on Amazon to deliver my IYV PRS copy. Ooh. That sounds fun. IYV. I'm not familiar with IYV. I don't know what that stands for. Robert says, last week started trimming the saplings out of the chain link fence in my backyard. Well, there you go. Always projects like that in the spring. A couple days ago, I did a little trimming as well. We got some little trees that had grown up, and they didn't last very long. They died, so I had to pull them out of the ground, and couldn't get one of the stumps, so I had to dig around it and hack at it with an axe. And, luckily, it was only, it wasn't very big, but yeah, I know the springtime cleanup. And Paul's here. Paul says, greetings, everyone. Good morning, Paul. How are you doing this fine Wednesday? And Drizzy Guitars. Good morning. Harry Dude, what's up? What's up, Harry Dude? How's everybody down in Australia this morning? This evening for you? Morning, early morning. Right on. Cheers, everyone. I tip my coffee cup to all of you. Time Surfing Alien says guitars out of Vietnam, IYV, $135 on sale. Wow. Yeah, if it's decent quality. That sounds like a buy right there. Nice. That's awesome. New guitar day. It's NGD. Right on. Well, while I'm waiting to hear what else you guys are working on, let's get to what I've been working on. As you can see back here. Well, first off, last week, 2 weeks ago, I guess it was, I put out the part 1 video of working on the bass guitar, and we've kind of covered some of that here in the lives, where I got the body all prototyped in the video, well, sort of prototyped, and I was still needing to do the neck and fretboard and all that. Then last week, I made that wacky knife while I was cleaning up shop. I found that saw blade and decided to make a creation out of it. But in the meantime, behind the scenes, I've been working on the bass. Like, yeah, I guess you can sort of see that. I've been working on the bass. This is the 3rd body that has come off the machine, and you can tell it's not good wood, but this probably would have been kind of cool had I soaked the whole thing in epoxy. But this one, I think this one's complete. I've been test fitting things like the neck grommets and other components. But this one I carved yesterday, right off the machine. Still doing a little bit of fine tuning, but I think I've got everything fine tuned for the most part now. And now I'm on to prototyping the second round of prototyping for the neck, where when I made this neck back here, that was just the first round. I hadn't worked through really too much of the details. I just wanted to basically get one carved. And I showed this one last week, so you guys saw this one. It just has the fretboard taped in place. Now I'm at the point where I've got the body worked out for the most part. Now I'm working out my processes for making the neck and fretboard and how I want to approach that. Because ideally, I would want the machine to cut the fretboard to size with the neck. So I'm kind of working out, the process of I'm going to cut the truss rod slot in the carbon fiber rods. Then I want to glue on the fretboard. So I'm working out, how I'm going to locate the fretboard. Am I going to use pins? How am I going to go about that? I want to glue the fretboard on. Then I want to finish machining the neck with the fretboard attached, I think. But I'm just working through all of that process right now. And yeah, it's a bit of a process trying to figure all that out, the best way to do it, because there's a ton of different ways that you can work out stuff like that. So I've got kind of a pile of I don't know, prototype bodies or practice bodies. Yeah, I've just been working on a lot of that. Hours. Readjusting G-code and testing it and readjusting and testing. And that's really what I've been working on, because, well, I've already put out the first video. So I got to keep this progress going. So in order to do that, I got to work out the bugs before I actually load a nice piece of wood in there and start cutting. So I've been pretty much, I don't know, head down working, trying to get that done, which is kind of weird because I'm not used to really working while sitting at the computer. I'm used to, cutting wood and gluing stuff and doing things. So doing this is a little bit different, but it's all got to be done. And we're getting mighty close. Robert says, I also have some low-hanging tree limbs and some, crepe myrtle on the south side of my house, as tall as the bottom edge of my roof. Yeah, I've heard about that stuff. Sam says, tree got people stumped over the stump. Must be from the special branch. Oh, I'll leaf it out. Paul says, a little blue epoxy A dye it darker? That'd be a cool base body. Yes, once I started cutting this, I did not know how this was going to work. I thought maybe this whole piece would break off. In fact, I probably could snap it off of there. But once I started cutting on it, I thought about that. I'm like, man, that would actually have been kind of cool. But I don't have any epoxy on hand, at least not in quantities that I would need. And I'd already started cutting, so it would have been cool, actually. Yeah, blue epoxy down there. And it goes all the way through onto the back. So yeah, it would have been cool. If I had epoxy, I might have tried it. Except every time I've tried some of that cool epoxy stuff, it spills everywhere. I don't know why. It's probably my process, but yeah, I'm just using basically whatever I have right now to kind of prototype this stuff, because, well, I'm not going to use it for anything else. But it's working really good for this. I haven't come across like the good stuff yet. Oh yeah, that would break right off. But proof of concept. I ordered some parts. I've got truss rods, carbon fiber rods on the way, some nut material, pickups. I got to get the pickups coming, or at least a set to use for now. Maybe I'll do that when we're done, get those ordered up. But yeah, I'm trying to keep this process moving forward now. Especially, that's kind of why I did that first part 1 video, just to get it out there, and that also motivates me to keep moving forward on everything, because, well, I've already released part 1, so we can't stop now. There's absolutely zero. There's no option. I can't leave everyone hanging with the rest of this build. The downside of that is that I am really the downside of me trying to really get this going is I don't have another project at the moment that I'm working on. I did that knife last week, and that sort of interrupted my whole process. So right now, my main focus is on these, because I really want to get these done, or get the first 1 or 2 made, and yeah, that's my goal. So I'm not sure at this exact moment if we'll have a video this coming week. A Time Servant says that would look awesome with a resin. Yeah, I know. It would be cool. Robert says you could put epoxy on those voids and have a workable body. Yeah, I agree. If Time Surfing says epoxy would definitely stabilize it. It would. Yeah, it would work really good. I wished I'd have thought about that ahead of time. Again, it still wouldn't have mattered. I just would have set this piece aside because I don't have any epoxy. I'd have to order some in. And Paul sold 1 guitar at the Dallas show. Awesome, man. Congrats. That's great. Robert says, found out yesterday that some neck blanks I bought a while back, and they're not either wide enough or thick enough to work as a neck. Oh, man. Well, that stinks. Maybe you could cut it down the center and glue in a strip of something. I don't know what the material is, but if it's mahogany, cut it down the middle and glue in a strip of maple or something, or some sort of a laminate, a walnut and a couple strips of maple, or something like that. You could probably make it work with a little modifications. Time Serpent says, no, he had it right. Crap myrtle. I've heard about that stuff. Paul says, drill from the side, insert wood dowels with glue. We'll hold it on, then you can decorate it and make it a cool base body. In from the side. Yeah, you could do that. It definitely would need epoxy though, because I mean this is all punky, half rotting. Well, actually, it's not half rotting; it's pretty well rotted. But yeah, it would be really cool with some epoxy in there. But at least with stuff like this, I don't feel quite so bad, doing test after test, because it's just not great wood. I'm hoping I'm hoping somewhere in this 5 or 6 slabs of this stuff that I will still find some good stuff to get a body out of this. I would love to see what this looks like with actual finish on it. Just that it's really a light wood, maybe no dye, maybe just some oil or something. I don't know. I know there's some pieces that are going to work. I just have to find them and carefully place the shape on the piece of wood. It's there somewhere, and we will come across them. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe eight pieces, not 5 or 6. I got like 8, and a couple of them are really big. So, hopefully. Time Surfing says bow tie splices. Yeah. Robert says use the red packing tape to seal the back and the ends and pour epoxy into the void and make it work as a body. I have used, not the red tape, but I've used like that, that house wrap tape? It's almost like packing tape, but not. I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. I've used that, and I've covered everything before, and it always seems to leak. I don't understand it. Like, I've wrapped the sides, the bottom, and it ends up spilling out and gluing it to my table or whatever. I've got material missing from the table because I've had to pry epoxy up off of there. If you scroll way back on the channel, I tried to make a guitar body. I had a live edge piece of maple, and I cut it in half, and I had the live edge in the middle, kind of one of those river type deals. And I taped everything up, and I poured all the epoxy in there. But 2 things kind of went wrong on that. It leaked and spilled everywhere, and I didn't have the deep pour epoxy, so it got way too hot, bubbled and foamed and smoked, and it was a disaster. And then when I did that router bit holder right there, that has green tinted epoxy, and that one I taped around, and it spilled all over the table. I don't know why I always have that happen. But it's funny because you always watch, the YouTube videos where someone's doing a big epoxy pour, and most of the time, they might have a little spill, but, me, I do it, and everything, it spills all the time. Paul says, most of my bodies are built with knotty or reclaimed wood, and I'm fixing them all the time to get them ready for sale. It adds character and makes it unusual. Yes, no, I completely agree. I love the reclaimed, using wood that would normally not be used. And again, with this one, had I had epoxy on hand, I probably would have filled it. But right now, my goal is I'm just using the stuff that I know is bad just to test. Robert says the neck blanks are plain maple. Okay, so maybe you could saw them in half, and glue in glue in a piece of mahogany, or maybe another piece of maple with a couple strips of mahogany or walnut or some sort of contrasting wood to give you some more width, and it would make a cool. It would look cool too. So, there's always ways you could save the piece. It's a drag that it's too narrow right now, but just look at it from the other side and go, how can I make this work? And that would be my first thought. Slice that sucker in half, glue in some different pieces, plane it back down or whatever you need to do, and there you go. You can save it. Sam says, the GoPro Hero 12 is awesome, worth getting with the mods. Interesting. I don't think I will buy another GoPro ever. And maybe I shouldn't say ever, because it's kind of a final. But I'm not impressed. I always liked GoPros until I actually bought one. And when it works, when the battery's not dead, it works great. I have no complaints. And I have the media mod, so I can have the microphone and everything for it. But when I bought my GoPro Hero 10, several years ago, I don't know, 4 years ago. I don't remember when exactly it was. Whenever that thing came out, I bought it, and I bought it with several batteries, so I always had a decent battery. Well, in no time, those batteries wouldn't run it. I don't know why. I could swap them out, it would be dead. Swap them out, it would turn on, and it just wouldn't run. So I heard that they came out with a new battery that's, it's supposed to be I don't know, more capacity or something. So I bought one. And it does help, but it seems like every time I turn it on, unless I immediately pull it off the charger, the battery's pretty well dead. And I can't get on board with that. I don't know if it's planned obsolescence kind of thing. Oh, we come out with a new version, so now it doesn't work. You got to buy the new one. And I just don't. It's not how I roll. If I spend the money, especially, what are they, $400 or $500? I want the thing to last. I don't want it to be out of date because they released a new version. And I don't know. I'm just not happy with that. So I don't know if I will ever buy another one. I would look at other options for those action cams. And I don't know. I hope that's just a bad maybe I got a fluke unit or something. I hope that's all it is. But it's annoying. Rant over. Let's move on. Paul says if PRS can make their electrics using wood MDF, then you can definitely make them with that punky body. Oh yeah. I mean, you can use whatever. On my list of projects, one of the things, I want to make one out of plywood. That's not unheard of. There's several, commercially available ones that are made out of some grade of plywood. And I want to make one, but not paint it, right? So you put a wood, just some sort of a clear finish on there, and you can see the plywood edges, and especially if you do a, arm bevel and stuff, it'd be carved away. I think it'd be cool. I want to make one out of plywood. And yesterday I had an idea. I was researching some products that I can throw on the CNC machine and make some tools and jigs and stuff. And so I'm looking at HDPE plastic, different sheets and thicknesses and stuff that I can get. And you can buy that stuff in 1.5 inch thickness. So I got to thinking, well, how cool would that be if you buy a sheet of HDPE 1.5 inch thick and make a guitar body out of it? I wonder what that would sound like. So I think I'm gonna have to try it, because I think in there somewhere. Okay, let me back up just a little bit. I'm not one of the tone wood believers for acoustic or for electric guitars. Hopefully someone doesn't get upset with this, but I think you all know that most of your tone comes from your pickups and your electronics and your pedals and amps and stuff that you use after the fact. For an electric guitar, I'm only speaking for electric. So I thought, well, let's make one out of plastic. I think that'd be cool. It'd probably be heavy, but I kind of want to try it. What do you think? Let me know. Do you want to see an 1.5 inch thick HDPE plastic guitar? Maybe I'll do, I don't know, maybe I'll do one of my a Dorian models out of plastic. I think that'd be neat. Have you guys ever seen that? Anybody do that? Dastardly Dave is here. Dave says, sup all. What's up, Dave? Paul says, buy yourself a silicone mat to put under the body so that the epoxy goes onto the mat and not your bench. You know what would happen, Paul? Just my luck. Not that I have bad luck or anything, but I would lay the mat out and I would lay the epoxy and it would leak all over the mat, and then it would run off the edge of the mat and glue the mat, the body, all to the table in one chunk. Of course, at least the mat I'd be able to peel, but... Time Surfer says, put down a layer of wax. I do have paste wax on my tabletop. Maybe it wasn't enough when I glued everything to the table. It was on there pretty good. I had to use I have one of these big scrapers. I think this might have been a putty knife or something originally, but I've sharpened it almost not quite knife edge, but I mean you could cut yourself with it. Sharpened it up pretty good, and I used that to scrape dried glue and whatnot off my bench, and I was using that, and it's just 2 layers of what is that? 2 layers of 3/4 inch plywood, and it's not, so it's got a really thin veneer on the top, so any little gouge, this thing just dug under it and it peeled up a whole chunk of the veneer. But something like this, if you guys are needing some sort of a heavy duty scraper, this might actually be a scraper. It's pretty thick. Like, it's not, these little putty knife deals here. But this thing works awesome. It's super sturdy, and you just sharpen it and put a fairly sharp edge on there. Man, is it great for scraping off, squeeze out, anything like that. You know how when you glue something, if you don't put something down below it, like let's say you're clamping up a guitar body, you put it in the clamps, and as it dries, it oozes out the bottom and it sticks all to your bench. This takes it off like nothing. Of course, you can't press super hard, it will dig in, but just a sharpened scraper of some sort really works great for cleaning up that kind of thing. Little side note, little bonus tip, there you go. Sam says, perhaps make a mold out of expanding foam. Ooh, yeah, Time Surfing says expanding foam, good idea. That is a good idea. Could you, let's think about that for a second. If you took your body, I could even use one of these. Put it in the middle and spray the foam around it, and then trim away the top. That's a really good idea. I wonder how that would work. I wonder if you would have to then put. So let's say you put the body. You set the body. I wonder if maybe in a box. Put the body in the middle. Spray the foam. Trim away, because I'm guessing you would foam up over the top. Trim that away. Pull the body out. Maybe then take like some plastic wrap or something. Steal some kitchen supplies. And then set it back in. I wonder. That's a good idea. That's worth trying. Huh. Let me ponder that for a second. Yeah, Sam, I like that idea. Good idea. Sam says, I got additional batteries and 2 double chargers. Oh, nice. Time Surfing says 80s were full of plywood bodies. Yes, I have a, what is that? What is that one? It's not a Jackson. What is one that I have? Why can't I think of the name now? But it's plywood, and it's from the 90s. What the heck is that brand? Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts now. I can't think of it. Give me some names. Kind of a strat copy thing, but it's not a no name. Oh man, why is that is gonna drive me crazy. It's got a Floyd Rose on it. It's a lefty. That's why only reason I had. Man, why can't I think of that? But anyway, it's made out of plywood. I only know that because it's been repainted, and I had to. Well, once upon a time, I had to replace the 5-way switch, and it had a crappy, really cheap 5-way switch, and I needed to adjust the slot for the new I think a Switchcraft or something like that I put in there. And as I took a Dremel and just notched that thing a little bit, and when I did, I could see the layers in there. Man, I wish I could think of the name of that. KC, I think it's a KC40V, but I can't think of who makes it now. Oh boy. And so it begins. Paul says plywood looks great with carved parts or standing on the side, making or cutting it and making a pattern out of it. Yeah, I think the plywood would be cool. Time Surface says laminated top is plywood. Epiphone uses laminated tops. Harry Dude says to Robert, I got a Kramer neck that's maple, but 3 pieces, with the middle one with the grain in the opposite direction. Great neck. Yeah, that's another option. You don't even need to contrast it. Just add another piece. Paul says, I think it would be cool. Plastic guitar. Burl's Art built one with recycled plastic recovered from the ocean. Yeah, I think I saw that. He's got them made out of all kinds of things. But yeah, just a solid sheet, 1.5 inch thick HDPE plastic. And then we'll call it the I don't know what. Some sort of play on words for tone wood. Robert says this might help. The epoxy is like some... Wait, this might help. The epoxy is like some people do, is use some real thin epoxy, brush it on to seal it, yes. Then pour in the thicker epoxy, paint it on epoxy. Will help keep bubbles out. That's true. Time Surfing says wax is used as a release agent in fiberglass molds. Harry Dude says, to Time Surfing, yep, got a couple in my collection. Early Korean made Strat and Super Strat. Mate had a Squire in plywood. Harry Dude says, HDPE, very hard to glue to. Can hold a thread-ish. Have experimented with melting it at home. Yeah, I think what I would do is, if I were to do this, which part of me wants to try it, would be to take and actually use threaded inserts and like machine screws to hold the neck on. You know, so I would put, you know, I mean, I've even seen people doing this in wood, right? So instead of something like a grommet like that, I would actually put inserts in, or maybe they would even be, maybe they'd be like a T-nut style, sunk in from this side, maybe recessed a little bit. I don't know exactly, but I would think that 1.5 inch thick would be strong enough. I can't imagine it would bow, but I don't know. I've never seen anybody do it. So maybe that's a sign that we need to give it a shot. Oh yeah, Time Surfing says put plastic bag between the foam and body. Yeah, something in there to line it. Paul says you'd have a rough body with the spray foam due to air bubbles, but silicone would work great. Robert says I have some Paduke that I can use to build a neck blank out of, with the maple just aggravating that I can't use it as is. Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's totally understandable. It says it would probably look more interesting is multiple piece neck. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be cool, especially Paduke. I love that contrast of maple and Paduke. Just be careful as that Paduke, as you're sanding it, you know, it's a very brilliant kind of orangish reddish color, which I really like. It can stain maple a little bit, and I've seen that. And when I built the first acoustic, of course, the back and sides are maple, so I had to be very careful. You know, keep all my sanding. You know, try to keep it as clean as possible to prevent, you know, any sanding dust from contaminating the maple. Paul says Kramer used plywood in the olden days. Time Surfing, early Japanese were plywood. Here it says, yes, the Striker series from the 90s went plywood, had one, kept the neck, and put it on a strap body. Now, I'm still trying to think of that guitar that I have. And actually, while I'm right here, this might be a little unprofessional, but I'm going to do it because it's driving me nuts. I have my laptop here because I was working on the CNC stuff. So I need to look this up. KC40V. I gotta think of it's a Washburn. Yeah, Washburn. And it's plywood. Robert says a couple years back, a younger guy built a guitar body out of plywood and made it like a herringbone pattern. Oh, I think I've seen that. I think I have, or a similar one anyway, yes. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Paul says, I put inserts in the neck and screw in with machine screws from the back on all my builds. Works great. Yeah, it's not something I've ever done, but I mean, I've seen plenty of people do it, and it seems like a solid method for sure. And there's Tony. Tony's here. Tony says, "Morning, sunshine." Good morning, Tony. How are you this fine Wednesday morning? A coffee cheers to you. Paul says, put a thin layer of CA glue on the Paduke. It will prevent bleeding on the maple when you sand. Oh. On the Paduke? On the Paduke. Huh, interesting. Yeah, it's not something I tried. I did use some spray can shellac on the acoustic to try to seal the maple before I, got too crazy with Paduke. And it seemed to work okay. I don't think I really got a whole lot of staining on there. Maybe a little bit. But I think overall it turned out pretty good. But I was trying to be very careful, during that whole process because I didn't want that. Especially because I used a Paduke purfling along the top between the Engelmann spruce top and the maple binding. I got a little thin strip of Paduke, and I didn't want that spruce to get stained at all. So by putting a little shellac around there, it worked out really well. Time Serpent says, good to know. Paul says, yes, I use that with turning pens all the time. Interesting. On the Paduke, because it seems like you would want it on the maple, but on the Paduke, that's not the way I would have expected it. So that's good to know. There's another tip for you, courtesy of Paul. Huh. My footstool's sliding away. So that's what I'm working on. And I think maybe you guys can we brainstorm for a minute? Morpher. It'll just help me a little bit. Can we do that? Would that be okay? So let me show you here kind of where I'm at. I'm gonna take this fretboard off of this one. And kind of show you what I'm thinking of. And I am open to ideas. And I love to hear your suggestions. Because a lot of times, you guys help me think of other things that I haven't initially thought of. And that's very helpful. Let's see if I can get this neck out of here. So, here's the process that I'm thinking. So, obviously, if we imagine this neck as a square piece of stock, my process that I'm building in my head, and I'm going to at least start testing out today, is I'm going to take my flat stock and I'm going to mill truss rod, carbon fiber rods, slots. So it'd just be a big chunk. Then from there, I want to take my fretboard that is not cut to shape. Basically just roughed out, I think. And I'm going to glue it on. So now we have a fretboard glued to a big square stock. The fretboard would not be slotted. It would not have any of this stuff in here just yet. Because what I'm trying to figure out, when I made this, I did them all separately. But once I got this fretboard made, I'm like, okay, well, now it's going to be a little bit hard to cut it to size. I want to use the machine to do as much as possible. So I'm thinking I take a fretboard blank, glue that on, then there's no issue with alignment. I don't have to worry about overhang. If something moves, I glue it on there. It can come out here because nothing's milled yet. Then I can put it back on the machine because I have locating pins. I can put it back on the machine in either orientation, actually. And I could mill everything else. And then at the very end, I want to cut the fret slots and put the radius on there. What am I missing? Anything? I mean, really, I just need to try it and see if that would work. But that's where I'm at on this. Man, and this neck it's so light. There's no way I would use this for a neck. This wood. But it's just a process thing that I'm trying to that I'm trying to work out. Because I want to be able to just step by step by step. I've got it all worked out with the body, I think. I've got that down to where I can, run this certain bit, make these cuts, do one bit change, drill a hole, finish, flip it over, finish the cuts, and it's done. But now we're working on into the neck, where I've got to combine a fretboard and the neck, and I don't want to have a whole lot of different setups. So just trying to work through that process. I think maybe the next step, maybe I just need to cut out a fretboard blank. That way I'll have it, and I can mill the body, or mill the truss rod slots, then glue the fretboard on, and then from there. The only thing I'm wondering is, when I flip this over, it's going to be offset from the bottom. So I might have to make like a little sled to support it. I'm not sure yet. Just wondering if you guys had any sort of ideas, something that I'm missing. All right, Robert says, I watched a video about a guy making his own wax impregnated cloth using a heavy sheet, 16 ounces of mineral oil, and 2 pounds of wax. Melted the wax, mixed the oil, let it cool, used iron to melt it in. Yes, I've seen similar, if not maybe the same video. It's way easier than the waxed canvas cloth that I made several years ago. Paul says use glue on the fretboard instead of yellow tape. More permanent. True. But I wanted to be able to take it back apart, and it was just for mock-up purposes. I just wanted to sort of hold it in place so I could get a feel, see how things feel. Heritage says, I've used inserts in necks on the wood strips out of the screw holes, got them from eBay, work well. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about that. When the screw holes strip out, I have re-glued slivers of wood in there. But yeah, converting it to inserts, that would be a good way, a good fix. Time Surfing says, with a big enough CNC, you could make necks in sheets. Yeah, you could. Just go and buy a big giant sheet of something. Paul says, as long as the alignment can be maintained, what you described would work just fine, as long as it doesn't move when the machine is cutting it. Yeah, so just like I did when I made the bodies, I have dowel pins, steel dowel pins that hold everything in place. I have the same kind of setup going for the neck. So the very first cut, once I position the stock, is to drill the dowel pin holes, and then I insert the dowels, and it holds everything right in place. It's all based around the same center line, so that the dowels are equally spaced along the center line. So when I flip everything, like, it maintains its alignment. At least that's the idea so far. Nothing's moved around. So yeah, I think that would work. And Mark's here. Mark says, good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Mark. Says, my general process for doing base necks was to keep everything in square form for as long as possible. I never used CNC though. I would slot the fretboard before gluing it on. Yes. So this is my first round, my first go round at creating a guitar on a CNC machine. I've done, of course, tons of different builds without the CNC machine. And my process has been very similar. I like to keep everything square until I can't anymore. And that's kind of how I'm approaching this. Um, when I'm making a regular neck, my first step, well, is I cut out the shape. I'll use my template, cut out the outer shape. Then I do truss rod and carbon fiber rods. So then from there, everything's still square. It is to shape, but it's still square. The back's not shaped or anything. Then I move on to my fretboard and I cut it oversized. It's squared up, but it's still a square piece of stock. I cut the fret slots. Then using my center line, I'll glue it on. So the fretboard's square, the back of the neck is square. I don't have anything profiled, contoured, anything just yet. So everything's square. And then once that's on, then I'll trim this to size. I will do my inlays or, fretboard markers, any of that stuff. Then I'll radius it. So now the fretboard's radiused, but the back is still square. And that's the very last thing I do is shape the back of the neck. And that's the kind of process that I'm trying to build in for the base necks on the machine. It's just working out how exactly I want to do that. And I think I'm going to land on something very similar to the way I do these without the CNC machine. Because I feel very comfortable in my process doing these quote unquote by hand. So I want to just adapt that, and it's really just a matter of working out how I'm going to hold things, how I'm going to flip things over, how I'm going to align things. There's no reason. Like I could cut everything to size. I could do pins, to align everything, but I don't like for some reason drilling pins in the fret slots. It's a perfectly valid option, but there's just something about it that I'm just not a fan of. I don't know why. So I'm trying to work out ways around that so that I don't have to go that direction. I do have this little relief cut here. I could put a pin here, and then that'll get milled away later. And if I cut this a little bit longer, I could pin it up here, which would go into the material in the headstock transition. That'll get milled away, so there would be basically zero evidence. And I might try something like that. And I guess you could put a pin in through one of these just to keep side to side movement. There's a ton of ways. It's like anything, right? There's a million different ways that you can do a particular task. And I've never done this process before, so I'm just thinking out loud, trying to brainstorm what may or may not work. But yeah, Mark, I totally agree with you. Keep everything square as long as possible. Sam says, don't forget to smash the like button. It's totally free. Right on. Yeah, hit that thumbs up. Hit it. Hit it right now. Don't be scared. No. Paul says, you might ask Highland Guitars. I know he uses CNC quite a bit. I almost think he uses, I don't know if I should say exclusively, but it's pretty close, yeah. He's sometimes in here. He'll stop by once in a while. Mark says, so generally I would end up with a slotted board glued to a square neck blank, which I would then mark and cut using a jointed plywood board to cut the taper to line on my router table. Yeah, very similar to my process. I have a slotted square board glued to the top. Time Servant says, Highline does good work for sure. Yes, he does. He's definitely got years of experience on the CNC as compared to this guy. KK's here. KK says, good evening from Greece. I wish you all are well. Weather is nice for a beach, and I wish you were here. Jeff, my friend, thank you. Thanks for showing us. Take care, brothers. Right on, KK. I'm glad you got some nice weather, going to the beach, catching some rays. That sounds awesome. That sounds amazing, actually. Right on. Hope you're doing good, KK. Thanks for stopping in. Tell everyone hi over in Greece from us here. Right on. And there's KK. There's Sam with the super chat. Towards expanding foam or the computer. You legend. Sam, thank you, my friend. Right on. I appreciate that. And coffee. Yeah, yeah. Robert says, one thing to consider with doing the neck that way is you may have to adjust the setting on the CNC for the extra thickness. Yes, absolutely. That is something that I'm thinking and planning for. But that's that's a height setting, and I can account for all that stuff as long as I have an idea of the process ahead of time. I can set the machine accordingly. KK says yes. Don't forget the likes. Right on. Time Servant says thanks for the reminder, KK. Notifications take me straight to the live. Hair Dude says put pins in the 12th fret marker so it misses the truss rod and carbon fiber. Yes, that was a thought. Because you can't do it in the center because you're going to go right into the truss rod. But you could do pins here, and I could do a pin down here, and a pin up here, and I might try that. And then I could just use, I don't know, toothpicks or something, nails, anything like that, to basically hold it in place, clamp it up, and yeah. Be good to go. Mark says, yeah, I never liked pins either. The Drake custom guy uses toothpicks drilled into the waist areas, which get cut away. Yeah, that I don't know why. I mean, there's nothing wrong with using a pin. There's not at all. I don't know why, I just don't like it. I have done that before, where you drill a hole in the, in one of the fret slots. And yes, it gets covered up by a fret when you fret it. But the thing that I don't like is, unless you're using like a super tiny brad nail or something like that, there's evidence of that hole. And I would rather there be no evidence of any sort of pin. That's why I'm thinking pin it in, like you said, the waist areas. I'd be okay pinning in the 12th fret, because that's going to get covered and really there'd be no evidence anyway. Especially if you use like a toothpick, because then you're just gluing in, it's going to be wood. And then you can drill the those things, the markers, and there'd really be no evidence. I think that's really the thing that I don't like. I just don't like there being, if you drill a hole here and it's got a little divot from where you drilled it, at some point, if that fret's ever pulled, you can see that, and I don't like that. I've done it into the nut slot before, but again, if you pull the nut, there's evidence there that there's been a pin, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. There's just something about that doesn't sit well in my head. Is there anything wrong with it? Absolutely not. It works fine, and it doesn't hurt anything at all. It's just not the way I want to do it. Oh, Hair Dude said pin in the nut slot. Yeah, I just don't like that evidence. Paul says, use toothpicks. That way you can just cut them. I use toothpicks for alignment of my fretboards. Yes, I love toothpick dowels for different things. I used them on several different jigs and holding things on the acoustic build, and they're great, and that's probably what I would use on this. The other reason that I like toothpicks instead of like a metal nail or something is if I accidentally forget, to remove a piece, and then I start cutting with a router or anything, really, any cutting instrument, and I don't cut into that metal. A toothpick, it virtually makes no difference. So you'll just cut it off if you forget to remove it. And I don't even need to remember to remove it, really, for that same reason. So toothpicks are awesome. Mark says, I've never really had difficulty maintaining alignment of the board without pins. I think pinning is a bit of over-engineering. I agree. I've done plenty without pins. I think I've only actually pinned one on maybe twice, just trying different methods. Maybe more than that, but not much. Usually I just, the board is square, and I'll have one edge jointed so that I know that everything is square. That jointed edge is the edge that I use to line up on my fret slotting miter box, so I know everything is square off of that. I also measure my center line off of that side. Once I have my center line, that's how I line everything up, and then it's just a matter of keeping it lined up, until you can get a little bit of clamp pressure on there. I have a long caul that I've cut slots in the ends so that I can look down on that. Let me see if I can show you. If I can get it without falling on the floor. Ooh, come here, you. I have a couple of these. So I use these. This is my fretboard clamping caul. Well, actually, there's the other one. So this is sized for a kind of a fender style neck, but I have slots and sight holes so that as I'm clamping things down, I can look down and see my center lines and make sure everything lines up. But that's what I use. That's how I normally do it, and then I just load it up with clamps. It's not quite long enough. I'd have to make a new one for the base, but yeah, just there's a million different ways. And the cool part is that not one really is right or wrong. It's whatever method everyone's comfortable with. And that's what I love about this process. So many different ways to do it. It's just you have to figure out what works for you. And just because you do it one way doesn't mean that somebody else is doing it the wrong way because they're doing it different. I'm not going to get into that. But that's so much of what we see now. It's like, you don't do it the same way I do it, so you're doing it wrong. That's just totally false. Time Surfing says OCD. Yes, it might be. Paul says existence of type A. Now noted for Jeff. Makes you a better guitar builder. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, there you have it. Maybe so. Maybe I am type A. I don't know exactly what that means, to be honest with you, but I'll take it, unless that's a bad thing. Yeah, it's just those little things that I try to avoid. Sam says, can make a guitar with a hidden whiskey bottle built into the neck for Scott playing to drink the whiskey. Wait, yeah. I don't drink whiskey. Coffee. Oh, that'd be weird. Harry Dude says, drill the 12th fret markers all the way through. Same through the neck with the built-in dowel plugs. Ooh, that's actually not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. So it goes all the way through. Fretboard is literally pinned. That's not a bad idea, Harry Dude. The only challenge would be possibly if I didn't want to do dots. If I wanted to do some sort of different, but I guess it could be shallow with holes. It would be pinned right in. I think I want one at the top though to keep any. That's actually a good idea. Huh. I like it. Yeah. Then you just pin it in place, cut that off, there's your fretboard markers. And it's pinned the fretboard on. Huh. Good idea. Paul says, to Sam, had a buddy make one with an airplane-sized Jack Daniels embedded in the body. Still had the alcohol in it. Wow. Andrew's here. Andrew, how's it going? Mark says drill through the whole neck, then use walnut dowels, and you have fret mark as you can see from the back. At least till the neck buckles. Yeah. I mean, that'd be interesting. Two little eyeballs poking out the back. Harry Dude says, haha, made you brain. Paul says, let's see. Type A individuals, as outgoing, ambitious, rigidly organized people with type A personalities are often high-achieving workaholics. Well, there you go, I guess. I don't know about high-achieving, but I try. Yeah, that sounds about right, actually. Rigidly organized, for the most part. Well, thanks for that definition, Paul. It's not far off. All right, so what I was thinking of, and I'd love feedback from you guys. I don't know how interesting this would be. So, like I said, since I'm working on this, I don't really have another project in the works at the moment for video this weekend. So I was pondering the idea of while I'm working on this, I got some things that I need to take care of. Like I gotta, do some little tasks around the house and a couple little repair things here in the shop. And I thought about just kind of making a daily vlog style video. I don't know. Would that be something? Would anybody be interested in seeing that? Just kind of, hey, I'm working on this, but while the machine's running, I got to get this other stuff done. Not really how-to anything. Just kind of a day in the life of what's going on in the shop. I don't know. Typically, those types of videos, they're kind of hit or miss, but I don't know. What do you think? Not really sure. I gotta fix my little keyboard stand here. I gotta, do a little computer work. I gotta change the oil in the car. Just daily stuff while the machine's running. I don't know. I was pondering it, but I don't know if we'll do it or not. We might just skip this week. Anyway, you guys, it's about that time. I gotta get a fretboard going. So, I think it's about time to wrap this up. We are at the top of the hour anyway, so time to wrap this up. Paul's got to go too. Paul says got to go. Have a great week. Right on, Paul. You have a great week too. So yeah, with that being said, everyone, I guess that's another wrap. Stamp. On Wednesday Live for, what's today? The 8th? Something like that? 9th? I don't even know what day it is. What is it? It's the 8th. Here. 9th for some of you. But anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate all of the brainstorming and the ideas, and all of you for taking some time out of your day to hang out here at Home Built Workshop. I really, truly am grateful for all of you for taking time to do that. I'm not just saying that. Like, I really do appreciate it, and thank you guys so much. So, with that being said, though, we're going to wrap it up. Oh, Harry Dude says it's the 9th here. That's right. Sorry about that. Happy 9th, if you're in Australia. So, right on, everyone. You guys all stay safe, stay well, get on your shops, build some cool stuff. Work on those projects, clean up the yard, whatever it is you need to do. I hope you get a chance to get out and do it. Have some fun, enjoy the outdoors and some fresh air and all that stuff. If you're KK, I hope you get to go to the beach. And but everyone, have an awesome week. And until next time, thanks a lot for watching. And we will see you next time. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you. And the button works. Look at that.